So this is the story of my life. I'm turning 50 this year. And as I'm turning 50, I find myself pausing a lot more to reflect on all the years that have gone by and all the amazing things and the awesomeness that has been a part of my life. So many people who've come into my life to enable something for me to be in the right moment in my life because I needed them, and how opportunities have just kept on presenting themselves when the time was right. And I wanted to share this with each one of you because now that I'm 50 and I can look back, I know at that time I used to be very anxious and I used to wonder if it's just me who's so non ambitious, if anything's going to happen in my life, will I ever work, what am I supposed to do, what's my purpose of life. I was one of the most non ambitious students I guess anybody would ever know, had no purpose of life, no uh, career aspiration, so to say. My only thing was that I was just a good student, and I was a good student because I wanted to impress my parents. I wanted them to always think that I'm that good girl of theirs because I lived in a boarding school from a very young age at 7. And I think somewhere when you get separated from your parents at a very young age, uh, you you know, you can understand the separation. There is a sense of abandonment, and there is this always desire to be that perfect child. So in some way, you feel that yes, like my parents need me. My mom tells me that when I would come back home for summers, I used to like make tea as a very young kid and bring to her in bed, and I would just keep all my clothes very tidily. I would keep the room really nice, so that she would just be happy, right? And there was, now when I think back, I think there was this, while I wanted to stay in the boarding, I loved my friends, I loved my life. There was also this deep desire to continue to stay very strongly connected back home with my parents. And I didn't want them to forget me, And maybe as a little kid, I didn't understand that people don't forget, they will always love you, you'll always be special to them. And I think boarding school was that one turning point in my life that really, really changed the trajectory because I grew up in a very small town which didn't even have a confectionery store. It was that small. It is called Satna. It's in MP, Madhya Pradesh, in India, in central India. My dad worked with a Birla company, and I went to a school which was which had local boards, local way of studying. It didn't have standardized boards. And my parents aspired to send both and me and my sister, to great schools because they had studied in Calcutta and they had had very good premium education. So they wanted the same for us. So when they decided to put my sister in a boarding school, I also insisted to be put in the boarding school at that time. And I think it was at that time and phase of my life that I learned to become really fiercely independent, to build that survival instinct within myself where I think I still carry that with me. I can be in any place in the world alone or with my kids, family, whatever it is, right? And I can find my way through. Which led me, now that I see, to be able to start businesses in absolute foreign lands where I was absolutely a newcomer. My first company I started in Silicon Valley, and I was an absolute novice there. I had just got married and moved to Silicon Valley, and within a year, as soon as I got my green card, I was on my way to my first company, establishing it. In 3 years, I sold that company. I learned the ropes of starting, building a brand, and bringing value into the company so that somebody would find it valuable and fruitful enough to invest in it and to buy it off me. And that's when I realized that I actually loved my life as an entrepreneur, because I'm not one of those who wants to build like a 500 crore company and continue to run that company forever. I'm one of those who loves to take on an idea, build on that idea with a simple focus on making it profitable, making it very revenue rich, making it cash rich, and creating a strong brand value so that within a couple of years we can turn it around, hand it over to the next person who can take it forward in a much more professional way and raise the company to the next level while I start working on the next idea. And I've done that 3 times now in my life. My first company was in Silicon Valley, my second one was in Singapore, and my third one was back in India. And now I've moved in completely into the consulting space where I help other startups or other individuals who have an idea to work on their idea and to build a complete business model which has a very high chance of success around that business idea. So, coming to my personal life, what I did, I was like I was telling you, I was one of the most non ambitious students you could ever come across. Just good in studies to impress my parents and just flew the way life took me. So I didn't question too much at that time. I didn't procrastinate too much. I just knew a couple of things that one, I was a stickler for learning. Anything new that was introduced to me, I would take it on. So school was great. I was a good student. Like I said, always trying to impress my parents, but had no career ambitions of this is what I want to do, that is what I want to do. I just knew that I wanted to study really well, and I just wanted my teachers to like me, and I wanted my parents to always feel very proud of me. That was my only guiding light. There was nothing else. Not there were a lot of girls in my school who knew what they wanted to be in life, not me. I wasn't one of them at all. And as luck would have it, in my 12th grade, I fared really well. And all the seniors, a lot of the seniors from my school, from the boarding, went to DU, Delhi University, for higher studies. So I was very inspired and also very enamored by that. You know what DU was all about, the life there, Lady Shri Ram College, SRCC, and being good in studies. Fortunately, I got admission very easily in LSR and SRCC, but I chose to go to LSR because my parents were strict and conservative, and they didn't want me to go to a co-ed. They wanted me to go to an all-girls college. So I did do that. I took that up. And I think Delhi taught me a lot of different skills. So while Calcutta is more mellow, I was in a very sheltered, protected, structured environment inside the boarding school. And in Calcutta, one thing great that I did, that happened to me was I made I think, the best friends of my life in 6th grade. And I think that's what I cherish the most about my school, that at very early on, I could forge these very close relationships in life that have stayed with me till date. They're still my closest friends, friends who I can talk about anything to. Anything, the worst thing I have done, the happiest moment of my life, the saddest moment, when I'm crying, they just know it in my voice that something's not right or something great is happening, because I forged those friendships so early on, and I nurtured them despite of me being in different parts of the world. The one thing I never stopped doing was nurturing and investing in my friendships, making sure that I was calling each one of them every week and staying connected, because that's when we don't stay connected after school or college, that's when we lose out on the relationships. We just fall apart, and sometimes we don't come back. And I think 50 years later, I can tell you this much: one of the things that I'm happiest and most thankful for are these friendships. So never let them go in your life, and spend the time and effort to nurture them. So when I went to LSR, it was a new field for me because none of my close friends from school had moved with me. I was all alone again. And that taught me the ability to, again, make new friends in a new city, to learn how to survive in a city like Delhi. And I remember that I used to take DTC buses. And in Calcutta, I remember my parents used to make me, if I was ever going to visit my grandparents, it wasn't that there was a car or chauffeur ever for me, or I had so much pocket money that I could take a cab alone. And even for safety, my parents wouldn't let me take a cab alone, so I had to take buses. So I have traveled in mini buses, and those mini buses are super crowded, and trust me, sweaty minibuses, and I've done that. So everything that seems maybe later, 50 years later, like a very glamorous life, I have done my bit of, what should I say, the the dues that everyone does, the doing it the hard way, coming up the hard way, and experiencing the hardships before I could really see the ease of life, right? So when you go through that, it's not something that you should deter from, or you should feel why me, because I think that makes us stronger. And in Delhi, I used to take these Delhi DTC buses, and I remember how I used to sometimes hate it. And I used to think, my parents have two cars standing underneath. Why can't they be nice to me and just give me a car to go to college? But they didn't. They were very disciplined and strict, because my mother felt that this was a time when I needed to learn how to maneuver and how to live and become street smart without having all the luxuries of life. So I used to take those buses, go to college, and I made some of my most amazing friends again in LSR when I went there to do BCom. And they became my pillars of strength over there. They became my home, my family, because again I was away from my parents. And I lived with my aunt, so they really nurtured me, took care of me. So again, like I always say, it's a village that comes together at the right time to be in that moment because you need them. The universe will bring all the pieces together for you to thrive, survive, and to continue to build your life. Those right people will be there at that right time, right? So never doubt that will this happen for me. You know that it is going to happen for you. You just have to be patient and know that it's going to happen when the time is right. The trust, the surrender is important. And from LSR, I remember, I mean, it is just so beautiful. I learned how to drive in one of my friend's cars. And sometimes I think, who gives their cars to a friend to learn to drive? What if I had banged it? What if I had done something to? And that time, having your own cars wasn't that of a common deal. It was very unlikely for people, for girls to own their own cars, and for her parents to be so nice and so generous to allow me to learn how to drive in that car. So 3 years of LSR, and then I decided, and my parents were very clear, if I stop studying, they get me married. And I didn't want to get married so early, so I just kept studying. And that was my motivation to study, no career ambitions till then. And I gave my MBA entrance exams, and I got through SPJ, and I got through a couple of colleges, IIFT, and a whole lot of them. And I decided to take up SPGen and move to Mumbai for my MBA. Now again, my MBA as well as my life in Bombay gave me a very different perspective and a lot of very different learnings of life. One, it was the first time I was in a co-ed, and I was studying with boys, and I started to see life not as something which was protected and sheltered, but suddenly out in the open ocean, figure out for yourself, right? And what I loved about the Bombay culture was that it actually breeds an equality, an equanimity. So just because you're a girl, it doesn't mean you get to go and move ahead in line, or somebody's paying for your tea or anything of that sort, which I was so used to. It was like you pick up your own bags, you take care of your own self, you stand in the line for the bus. And I remember taking those double-decker buses. I had never taken a double-decker bus before, and sitting right in front on the top, so excited. I felt like I was somewhere like on top of the world, because I could see the road so clearly, and I could just feel the vibe of Bombay so beautifully. And I think those 2 years were so wonderful. They were rigorous because I was doing my MBA in finance, but they were also amazing because I learned. I think I grew as a person. I learned so much. I learned about self-reliability, independence, about not being dependent on others, not even your parents, but making it on your own. Because so many of my classmates would talk that they had like worked for 3 years, then they had taken a loan from their PPF or broken their PPF or saved money to pay for their education. And I would think that, oh my God, and like, look at me, how entitled, right? That my parents are paying for my education. So I remember the first quarter I went back and I told my parents, I don't want you to pay for my fees. I think I want to take a loan and study further. And I think that was my first step towards making it on my own. And I think Bombay also gave me the wings to fly, because post graduation, I was placed by the institute. I got a job with McKinsey and Company. Again, nothing that I had aspired for, nothing that I had dreamt of or worked hard for, but just that I thought it is one of the most coveted companies on campus and I should apply to it, and I applied to it. So my reasons have always been very weird, why I'm doing what I'm doing, but it's worked out. And I think those 1.5 years in McKinsey, again, gave me a lot of learning, gave me a lot of purpose, gave me the grill of working hard, of persevering, of opening my wings, because those were the first few international trips I ever took in my life, going to Hong Kong alone, going to London, or going to US for work, and working and being among some of the best brains in the world, and just sitting out there and absorbing their energy and absorbing how they think and how they analyze. And I think that taught me so much. 2001, I got married and I moved to Silicon Valley. And 2002, I started my first company, saw an opportunity, just diverged into it. Fast forward 15 years, I moved to Chennai, had my second child here, moved to Singapore. But in my entire life after 2001, there's not been a single day I have taken off from work, except the 1 month during my last term of pregnancy, or 2 months. And this is because I have always continued to do what I love to do. Dancing, opening dance studios were the mainstay. It was my first company. And I think when you do what you love, you don't want to leave it. You will miss it. And you want to go back to it. And that is why I think whether you're in a job, whether you take up a functional role, or you want to work with on your own, whatever idea that you work with should not be a idea that's trending, that gets investments, or that's like makes you money. No, it should be an idea that resonates with you, that makes you come alive, that makes you feel happy when you do it over and over and over again. 23 years later, I'm still continuing to dance irrespective of what else I do in my life. I'm continue to juggle various balls. I am a mother, I am a daughter, I am a daughter-in-law, I am a wife, I'm a friend, I'm a community change maker, I run my own businesses, I'm a leader, I'm an entrepreneur, all of this together, right? How do you juggle it if you don't love it? It'll sap the energy out of you. And the only way to keep yourself energized, to keep infusing yourself with more energy in life, is by only picking up things that you truly love and that mean something to you. And the money, the success, the great work, the recognition, all of that follows because your passion is into it. So my only advice to you, you know, if you to my younger self or to you, is that don't doubt and don't fear what's going to happen in life. I've always been a very fearful person. What's going to happen? Always taking stress on that. And now I realize the more relaxed I feel, the more easier things become to happen. Working is what we put into action, right? The outcome is not in our hands. And the outcome may be what you aspire or may not be what you aspire. But you got to just take it and continue to move on, continue to act, continue to do. Because one day all your hard work will come through, will come together. And in all of this working, in all of this ambition or wanting to create something for yourself, remember just one thing should be your guiding light, that ultimately everything should stitch into creating and weaving a life's framework that you want to create for your life. Something that you love, something that gives you free time for yourself, something that allows you to connect with your loved ones, to go out with friends, to be able to watch a movie, to be able to spend time with your aging parents, to be able to travel, to be able to learn a new skill, a new language, to maybe start multiple business. All of that can be done because it's a part of your life's framework. So don't give up on any single thing because you think that the only way to run a business is to work 24/7. No, it's not. The only way to run a successful or to create a successful business is to have a really good work-life balance, to know when to stop in a day, to really give it your 100% when you are at that desk or you are in that office, and to know how to nurture your employees so that you can delegate and create such a great team that they make your vision come alive.